have kids and then don't decide to continuously
being able to have that type of role model or example of how to love a woman or a person or a partner, whatever it is. And so when I read that, to me, that was really powerful. And I feel like there are probably people that follow us that probably resonate with going through the healing journey of finding yourself when you're old. I think this happens especially for men in like your late 20s. A lot of this self-discovery, especially these is what a lot of my friends have shared with me, but for me, I think that journey also happened in my late 20s, of this coming to own, of thinking about what does it mean for me in the way that I hold relationships, partnerships, friendships, family, how I hold space for them, and how not growing up with a dad has impacted my ability to love in the way that I'd love to love, right? And so I'd love to just kind of talk a little bit about that poem, Toxic. I mean, that poem specifically, Single Mother, and how has that journey of coming into your own and having a toxic parent in your life, right? Or having a parent who wasn't shown up in the same ways, as I feel like I definitely felt that and connected with that.
Yeah. So, this was something that I published because of not only what I've seen, but like as you were touching on it, and I thank you for even sharing that, like this experience, right? I love my dad now and have a great relationship with my dad now, but there was definitely a moment where everything that's in this poem is how I felt, right? And I felt like he decided to change and come back into my life. And that was like an amazing moment, right? But we definitely had a moment where we had to break apart. And then I just started looking at the grander patterns of just manhood kind of in society, and what was being glorified. Literally, like I remember the debate between Russell Wilson and Future.
Oh,
you know, like little things like that, right?
yeah.
And I'm just like, yo, I just really just don't like trash dads.
Yeah.
You know, and then what really was probably the final kicker was going to high school with certain people, and then seeing them become trash dads.
Ooh.
And there's and okay, just because it's 2020, we have to always throw disclaimers for everything. This is not to say that dads can't have trash moments, blah, blah, blah. This is not to say that there aren't good dads out there, right? This is not even like a racial thing. This is just about just trash dads. People that like say, I'm going to have kids and then don't decide to continuously be there or find excuses for why they cannot be there, and then don't recognize the impact it has when a parent is just missing, and why there is like just balance in like two parents, right? And just I also have a fear of like, this is like one of my worst fears is being this poem. So it's a little exaggerated, because I'm putting in things that like necessarily didn't just happen to just me, but I'm like, I've seen this happen to my friends. I've seen people who I used to consider friends become that trash dad, and I had to distance myself because I was like, I just can't rock with a trash dad. Like, and my friends, you know, who are fathers now that I rock with are because I can't tolerate, you know. And I was just like,
yeah,
I'm gonna put this in a poem.
And so somebody here said that made somebody, let's see, Jay Malone talked a little bit about that poem, made him shed a tear. So I feel like that poem for me was really something that I connected with, not because of personal reasons, but also just thinking about, like you talked about, you know, I think lately in the media, and what we see is really trying to elevate, like you talked about the Future and you know, Sierra and all of that whole drama. And so I just wanted to highlight that I think as part of the journey to self-love that is still continuous, so going back to that point about it being a continuous journey, is really you're going to have moments of toxicity when you got to check yourself, right? When you got to be like, talk to yourself, check yourself. What are some things that you would say for some folks that are on here that are in that thick process of realizing that they themselves could be also toxic in their ways. And really, when you start to look in the mirror, because you talk a lot about looking in the mirror, when you look in the mirror and you see that, oh, damn, actually, I've been quite a bit of the contributor to that toxic relationship or whatever it is. What are some things that you say that you've done in order to either heal that piece or walk away from that or close that door, or I don't know, whatever you advise?
I don't know how to close that door. I still feel like I have toxic moments. I feel like I still have some friends that at moments feel toxic to me. I think I'm a witness and a participant at times to toxic habits, right? So what I feel like has been good for me in the toxic habits, moments, and people that I have been able to shed have just been awareness. And just being aware that something is toxic, because we definitely live in a culture that glorifies negativity. And so with that, we just really latch on to negative things and make that positive to us, that are just inherently negative, no matter how you spin it. But we love to say that it's negative. So I've actually challenged myself to find things that are, I think, inherently negative and just remove them from my life. Some things I was able to do overnight. Some things are just in a process.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to shift it back to what was some like more rapid fire short questions. Which one's your favorite poem?
Ooh. Ooh. Okay.
If you have
my favorite
one,
poem is Underground King. I don't even have to look. It's Underground King.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one
But
was the hardest for you to write?
The hardest?
Whatever hardest means to you, right? Like it could have been
hardest,
like
Single Mother.
Which one?
Single Mother was the hardest to write. Like physically writing those words, like just typing those words. Like I actually couldn't even say it out loud for like a year.
Wow. And what compelled you, like, you know, this is your second book, right? Your first book was quite different, right? You want to talk a little bit about what is your first book is? Oh, there you go. Bring it out.
Always Nearby.
Always. I got mine too, right here. I can go pull it up.
Right. One of my original supporters, as always.
You know, there's a difference between both books. What's your reflection now? Not only as a two-time author, right? So you've written two different books, but I remember maybe a year and a half ago, you were like, I'm writing a book, or I'm gonna publish a, like you had this in your head and here it is, right? It's now manifested. What was your process between thinking about this book, which is quite different than your first book?
Yeah, my first book is 278 pages. And it's thick, you know? So I was like...
I still use that activity. I've used that activity.
Thank you.
There's activities in there.
Yeah, I have like so many good ones in there, but this one's definitely like one of my favorites. And like the crowd favorite for sure. Yeah, it's just, I hate to say this, like I wrote that when I was like teaching at Drexel. And so because of that, I was like in this deep academic mindset, and I wanted to make sure that I could like archive all the different type of techniques that I was giving students in these one-on-one coaching sessions about how they can succeed in higher education, and just put it all into like one space, almost like a parting gift, because I knew I was going to leave higher education, and that was going to probably be the best way for me to positively educate people and create a positive culture. Right. So I wrote this book because I was like, yo, this is like something that I usually don't share with people. I go to open mics secretly at night and perform them. But
you've been going a lot more, I feel. Or before this, you were going a lot more.
Yeah. I've been going probably like off and on for like 6 years. Since like I lived in Philly. So yeah, I think I had to write this poetry book because I wanted it to be short, quick, to the point. I just wanted people to be able to understand exactly what I want to say. And I feel like when I can say things in poetry that I just can't say straight up for whatever reason. Too emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. How many people in here that have joined us, we got 10 folks with us right now, have attempted to write poetry before? Not share it, but just write. You can throw a wave or a hello or yes if you've tried to write poetry before. Or if you haven't, you can write that in there too, because we might have a challenge for you to like really, really try to. And poetry doesn't have to rhyme or have certain nice words, right? Like it really, what is poetry to you? What does poetry mean to you? Like, what is it?
Right. Poetry can be a song. Yeah. Secret is my my bonus poem is actually a song. The bonus poem that I throw in the book. There it is. So if you've written a song,